Well, Tom, good to catch up. Delighted to welcome you into our Blues family. You'll be joining us here at Bedford Blues for the 2024-25 Championship campaign. If we could just start by getting your first thoughts to that, your first full-time coaching role here with us at Golden Road. You must be really excited to be getting stuck in next season.
Yeah, no, I am. Obviously, a big club, a big traditional club. So I'm very fortunate to be given the opportunity. One that I'm really excited about. Team's obviously functioning pretty well at the moment as well. I think sitting in fourth. After a pretty good win at the weekend as well. So there's a few familiar faces down there for me, lads who I've played with along the way. One being Michael Bourgeois, who obviously helps out with the coaching as well, who's fantastic bloke. And obviously recently met Mikey as well, who's a great guy. So looking forward to working with those guys and obviously the squad as well next year.
I'm sure we'll be talking about your playing career throughout this interview. You've obviously decided to retire to go into full-time coaching next season. How important was it that this club was the right club for your first coaching experience? You've talked about Mike and Bouge as well. How important were those two in terms of persuading you to come here to Golden Road?
I think it's really important for a few reasons, really. The obvious one being for my career and being a successful club and a good club. That obviously helps. And the other one being after speaking to Mike and Bouge as well, just Mike talks a lot about development, not only of the players but the coaches as well. This obviously being my first time sort of coaching role. I've done a lot of coaching along the way in my journey, but none obviously full time while I've been playing. And he talked a lot about developing the coaches, and that really stuck out for me. Strikes me as a really great guy. He's personable. He's obviously really passionate about the game. He's passionate about the club. He's been there a long time. And he wants the best for the club. And if that means developing the coaches and the staff as well as the players, then I can really buy into that. Obviously, it being my first journey, my first job along my sort of coaching pathway in a full-time role, that development's really important to me. Making sure that I'm taking things in, making sure that I'm learning every day and trying to be the best coach I can be, and then obviously that benefits the team.
We'll delve into the Saints link a little bit along the way as well. You talk about that helping younger coaches. You'll know at Northampton, obviously last season we had James Craig doing a lot of line-out works. He's now with the first team. Jake Sharp is highly rated, was here last season as well. Do you look at those two as sort of key examples of what could happen to you here at Bedford? And did you speak to those two before making the call to come here at Golden Road?
Yeah, definitely. I've got a good relationship with both of them. Obviously spend a lot of time with James Craig being the forwards coach. Does a lot of our line out work, along with some of our sort of more intricate sort of details around the forward pack as well. Bit of breakdown stuff, more stuff when we get into sort of defensive zones and attacking zones. So he's been really good for me. And Sharpie as well. Obviously, he's got big ties with the club, not just as a coach, as a player. I actually played against him back in the day. And he's been brilliant. He's actually a coach that I really look up to. He's someone who's very calm, gets his point across really well, knows exactly what he wants. So he's been really good to speak to. Just in the transition as well. So moving to Bedford as a coach, but actually just when talking about coaching in general, he's been a really good person to speak to regarding that stuff.
You would have worked with a lot of coaches throughout your career, it'd be fair to say. How do you try and mold yourself in terms of a coach now? Do you try and pick the best bits from everyone and try and make yourself like that? Do you try and put your own stamp on it? How do you see that going forwards?
A little bit, but I think a lot of it comes to sort of what sticks with you. There'll be certain ideas that coaches have that you agree with, and there'll be certain ideas that coaches have that you disagree with. I think that's just natural in your head, and it's quite nice to sort of, like you say, pick little bits of each of them. But I think it's really important that I come in and put my own sort of stamp on things. I'm very sort of relationship based in my coaching. I like to get on with my players, or I like to have a good enough relationship with my players so that when you do have to have sort of difficult conversations and good conversations, they come easy. I think it's important to be approachable, and that the players feel like they can sort of come and speak to you if they've got anything on their mind. I think an environment where people are happy is an environment where you get the best out of people. And then from a sort of philosophical approach, I've obviously played under some amazing coaches, played with some great players. I feel like I've had a fairly sort of long career, obviously retiring at 35. So I've seen a lot of teams, some dysfunctional, some functional. So I've got sort of my own ideas on what I think works and doesn't work.
And without putting you under too much pressure, we'll move into your playing career as well in a little bit, but the Saints link's going to be key. Will we ever see you put on a Blues jersey next season if needed?
I got asked this the other day. My boots will always be in the car, but ideally we've got a fully fit squad at all times and I'm not required.
Fair play. Next season, obviously the news has broken. We haven't announced it too publicly yet, but Jacob Fields is retiring, a long stalwart here in the hooker jersey. You're guessing you'll know James Fish from the end of his time at Northampton before he came to Bedford. We're expecting to see a lot of Craig Wright next season. We've seen him a little bit this season. When you talk about developing players, how easier is that going to be that you know Craig already, you know his game plan, you know all that kind of stuff, and there'll be a couple of other young hookers I'm sure that we'll see here at Goldenton Road. How much easier is that in terms of going forward next season that you kind of know the players that you're going to be working with already?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said before, I'm very sort of relationship based as a coach, and obviously having that relationship already in place with Craigo is important, and Fishy as well, who's someone who obviously I spent last year with, or the back end of last year anyway. So I know how they play, know them sort of well enough to know how to get the best out of them. Craig's a really interesting one as well because obviously he's a young lad. I'm a big believer that the championship's a fantastic place to sort of breed talent and help talent grow. He's someone who's obviously really highly thought of. Starts for the England under-20s. They love him at the club. He's a great athlete and he's got a really, really good work ethic. So yeah, look, that's really exciting. And hopefully, we can see him in a Blues jersey quite a bit next year.
That relationship between Northampton and Bedford is not particularly the reason that you've got the job. We'll talk about your coaching credentials a little bit with Chinnor in a couple of questions' time. But how much is that going to play a part next season? You'll know by both wavelengths what Northampton are looking to get out of the relationship in terms of game time for players. But also you kind of know here at Bedford what you're expecting from, because players are going to buy in when they come here to Goldenton Road, and you'll kind of know that transition. You'll know what you want from both sides of the coin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose so. I think keeping that relationship with Northampton was important to me as well because it's a club that's looked after me at the back end of my career. I'm sure it'll be useful having me at the club for them. Obviously, as you said, looking after the players that do come on loan. Jim Henry's obviously coming and done a good job as well, so he can act as a go-between as well. So yeah, that is important. It is important. It's a relationship that's built over the years and it's been worthwhile for both clubs. So yeah, no, look forward to staying in contact with the club. I'll obviously be a lending ear if they need me to. How lads getting on, constant bit of feedback. Can he do more of this? Can he do more of that sort of stuff? And then obviously it'll benefit both clubs.
Let's talk a little bit about your time at Chinnor last season. Obviously a really good campaign. They've made the championship for the first time in club history. Went from being relegation contenders to promotion winners in the space of 12 months. Obviously, you played a big part in that. Craig Hampson was there in the backs as well. That must have been a really exciting challenge for you because you came into a club that were probably a little bit favourites from what they'd done in the summer, and you were up there for the whole season. It was either you or Reading really from about match day 6 or 7. And you kind of had to build in and get that squad through it. And there were pressure games and you came through them. You must have learned a hell of a lot during your time down at Chinnor.
Yeah, I learnt loads to be fair. I knew Craig Hampson from Wasps. I'd played a couple of years with him at Wasps, so I had a good sort of relationship with him. And Nick Easter, I only met at Chinnor, having played against him, but I'd spoken to him on the phone a few times. And I was really surprised actually, just turning up the quality and the standard. Obviously a top end National One side already by the time I got there and ended up as champions. Just a great group of people. again, part-time model. So lads working and at the coalface every day, and it's difficult sort of sometimes to know what the right thing to do is. And to be fair to Minty, I learned a lot off him, how to galvanize the group after sort of long days at work. You manage in different situations, long days at work, some people not working. And he got the best out of the team. And you know what? They bought in and they worked really hard, the lads did, and ended up as champions. So I think probably the story there is that you get out what you put in. And I know there's work commitments and there was times to pull back a little bit, but actually they grafted so hard and deserved to be champions at the end of it. So it was just a really enjoyable experience and a really important one for me for my coaching career as well.
I'm guessing you won't say it's as simple as, well, if Bedford replicate that, we'll have a good season, because as you talk about, you get out what you put in. I'm guessing you're going to, well, we're hoping that you will be obviously very sort of making the boys better in terms of that. You join a Bedford club that finished 4th in the last 2 seasons. Is that the benchmark? Have you spoken at all to Mike and Booge about what we want next season, or is that more we look at it over pre-season? Are you going to get involved in transfers? How do you see it before you actually start here in July the 10th, whenever we restart the pre-season?
I think the sort of idea coming back into any new season is to look back on what you've done. We've not reviewed the season yet, but I will be part of that process. And it's to look to improve on what we've done already. So obviously I've seen a couple of the games. I speak to a lot of the lads who come on loan and ask how they got on and stuff. But more so just looking forward to having that review, seeing sort of getting a feel for what Mike wants. Sort of know Booge pretty well, and to be fair, Saints and Bedford align quite well in terms of the way they want to play as well. So probably got a fair idea of what we can get after and what we're not doing so well, but also what we are doing well and can we build on it? Because 4th is obviously it's a very competitive league. I'm aware of that, and 4th is a good position. Ideally, obviously, we go 1, 2, 3 better next year.
I don't want to put you under too much pressure and get you to shoot yourself before you started here at Bedford, but it's really interesting, particularly for somebody who's had your career started in the Champ, now coming back to the Champ. I don't want to put you under too much pressure. You're in a Premiership environment at the moment. I think you know where these sort of questions are going to go. You're in a Premiership environment at the moment. You've spoken so highly about the Champ. How important is it that people like you showcase that? Because the Champ does get a tough ride at the moment, but you clearly see the value is still here in the 2nd tier of English rugby.
Yeah, I do. I'm a massive advocate of the Champ. I almost have to be, because I wouldn't have had the career I had without the Championship, and that's really important to me. I was fortunate to play in quite successful Rotherham teams. The 2 years I was there, we were top 4, and a lot of our team then went on to have Premiership careers. Just as with any successful team, I mean, you're seeing it at Saints now. Any successful team, you're seeing lads get picked for England now, and Saints are doing so well. But again, look, these young Premiership lads who are in squads and academies come and play in the Championship because they need good rugby to come and sort of improve themselves, get experience for whatever career they're going to have afterwards. And alongside that, you've got sort of players that are carving out a professional rugby career, some of which are full-time training day in, day out, some of which are part-time, where they have to work a full day, come in and get the weights done and sort of cram it in. So, look, it's a tough league. It's a really tough league. It's full of grafters. It's particularly good at producing type 5 forwards, which is obviously the area that I'm going to come into and look to build on. So that excites me. So yeah, look, it's a really exciting challenge. It's a league that's very good, very, very good. So I can only speak sort of positively about the league.
And again, don't want to put you under too much pressure with the supporters. We're really proud here at Bedford. Actually, this season we've averaged over 3,000 at every home game for the first time in history. So obviously really proud. You're going to have a lot of people getting behind you next season. You'll be cheering your name home and away. We'll be wanting the best for you as you begin your coaching career. Just to end this interview, do you have a special message to supporters going forward to get behind you and the team next season. It's going to be a great ride, and the 2024-25 campaign could be really, really special here at Bedford.
I think just to echo what I've said before, just to say how excited I am and privileged I am to sort of have this opportunity and join such a great club. Obviously looking to bring in a few new ideas and build on what we've already done, and hopefully, you know, improve on what we've done this year.
Perfect. Well, Tom, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to Bedford Blues, and I'm sure we'll be catching up when you get here to Goldenton Road in July. Thanks for taking the time for this interview.
Thank you very much.